Welcome back to our channel 217 Prince YT. The chapter begins. The world shifted. By the river, beneath the warm glow of the sun, young Suho's voice pierced the calm of the water's rippling surface. Grandpa, the old man, his figure strong despite age, turned slightly, his hands working as he caught the fishes. The boy's eyes lingered not on the man's movements, but on the countless scars carved across his skin, lines of pain and history intertwined. "Why do you have so many scars, Grandpa?" the boy asked, innocence shadowed with curiosity. The old man paused, then gave a faint smile as though remembering long-forgotten days. He raised his arm, tracing the jagged lines on his body. "Ah, you mean these? They're badges," he replied calmly. "This one," he pointed to his side, "I got while saving a 7-year-old child from a burning building. And this one," his hand moved lower, "came when I stopped a drunk from causing trouble." The Suho's wide eyes followed every mark. Then his voice trembled. "But why, Grandpa? Why would you go so far as to hurt yourself just to save other people?" The man looked down at his grandson, a shadow of pride flickering in his gaze. Slowly, he knelt, placing a reassuring hand on the boy's head. "It's not that I'm unafraid of getting hurt," he said softly, his tone steady as steel. "It's just, my body always moved first, before I could even think." The sunlight glinted off his scars as if honoring his words, each mark a testament of instinctive sacrifice. The scene shifted. The warmth of the river faded into the chilling air of a broken battlefield. Suho's figure loomed over beaten criminals, his eyes sharp and unyielding. His voice carried like thunder through the darkened hall. "You have two options." The inmates, their bodies trembling, lifted their gazes to the monarch's son. Shadows coiled at his feet, restless and hungry. "Quietly get yourselves knocked out." Suho's tone dropped, his foot pressing one prisoner's head firmly into the cracked floor. His words were cold, final. "Or resist." His gaze sharpened, the weight of death pressing into every soul present. "And die." The silence that followed was suffocating, a single heartbeat stretched thin under the dominance of his aura. Every scar, every shadow, every word, it all carried the weight of the monarch's bloodline. The walls shook with the aftermath of the strike, fragments of concrete still tumbling from the ceiling. Wide eyes locked onto the figure who had just moved, too fast, too brutal for them to comprehend. "Did you see that guy's kick, just now?" one of them whispered, his voice trembling with disbelief. Another swallowed hard, the words falling from his lips like lead. "Is he a high-rank hunter?" The question hung in the stale air, heavy with dread. But bravado tried to mask fear. A smirk twisted on one man's lips as he steadied his hands. "What's the worry?" Confidence into his tone. "We have star fragments." The words were followed by a grotesque grin, the glint of madness in his teeth as the drug's influence burned through his veins. The promise of borrowed power made him reckless. The ground erupted in a violent shockwave, light and force exploding outward. Dozens of prisoners' roar of power tearing through the hall. The air itself trembled, vibrating with unnatural strength. One man staggered to his feet, eyes glowing unnaturally as veins bulged along his temples. His voice broke out, trembling with manic ecstasy. "I'm overflowing with power." Another bellowed beside him, his laughter wild, eyes blazing with the same twisted fire. "Right now, I feel like I could take on an A rank. No, even an S rank." Their roars echoed, frenzy feeding frenzy, as the drug coursing through their veins devoured what little sanity they had left. But amidst their madness, a low voice cut through, calm and cold as steel. "I guess." Suho stepped forward, his shadow stretching across the cracked floor, his gaze like a predator's. "That's a no on getting yourselves quietly knocked out." From the darkness, a voice sneered inside his mind. "Why are you even asking?" His head tilted ever so slightly, the whisper digging deeper. "They've taken the star fragments. That means they're going to resist." "He is Li Min-sung." The words dripped with venom, laced with accusation. "Are you seriously hesitating again? While right now, this very moment, innocent people are dying at the hands of these escaped inmates." The shadow within hissed with mockery, its presence coiling around him like chains. "Right. I shouldn't have expected some dull-ass character like you to kill anything. What was the point of your class change? You're still just a brat inside." The voice roared, echoing in his skull, merciless. "Here, go try it out." A vision split the air, his chest burning with the memory of that fatal wound. "Put a clear hole through their guts. Just like how you killed me." The voice crescendoed, every syllable an unrelenting hammer. Hurry, show it to me. Eyes glowing red with madness, Minsung laughed in his face. And then, impact. A deafening crack split the silence as his fist drove into the prisoner before him. The body collapsed in an instant, skull smashed against the concrete floor, blood spraying outward in a sickening burst. The others froze. Their bravado shattered as their comrade's body twitched, lifeless, at his feet. Their eyes widened in terror, the weight of reality pressing down on them. One finally managed to scream, voice shaking. Why you? He lunged, muscles swollen with borrowed strength, swinging wildly. But Suho was already moving. His fist blurred, meeting flesh with a sickening crunch. In one clean strike, the prisoner's arm bent grotesquely, bone shattering under the sheer force. The fight had begun, and so had their nightmare. The gang member barely had time to flinch before the assault came. Slashes of purple energy tearing at his defenses, his body staggering under the barrage. Huh! The other man gasped, his limbs trembling as fear replaced his bravado. He stumbled back, veins pulsing with the artificial strength of the drug. His eyes widened in disbelief. Why couldn't I see it? I definitely took a star fragment. But his words were swallowed by impact. A monstrous blow hurled him across the concrete, his body crashing into the wall with bone-shattering force. Dust and blood mixed in the air as Suho's shadow loomed, his glowing eyes unblinking. From behind, the prisoners attacked Suho with thunderous speed. But before the attack connects, Suho's strikes landed. The man's scream echoed, abruptly silenced as Shadow's spears tore him apart. Suho didn't flinch. His fist tightened, the aura of a predator surrounding him. Blood sprayed across the ruined street, the crimson painting every surface. From behind him, another voice cut through the stillness, mocking, cold, too familiar. You've changed so much in such a short period of time, Minsung said, stepping closer with a smile that dripped with malice. Isn't that amazing? Suho's shadow stretched across the bloodied ground. Anyway, you could have just subdued them. Was it fine for you to kill them all like this? Blood dripped onto the pavement, pooling beneath the mangled corpse. The words that followed cut sharp as blades. How can you call yourself a hunter when you can't even discern between magic beasts and humans? A cold voice echoed in the wreckage. Looks like you've become a monster too. Baru appeared at Suho's call, his wings twitching with anticipation. Baru. Yes, young monarch. The ant knelt, its voice vibrating with hunger. Eat the villains and read their memories. Suho's eyes hardened. I need to know who the ringleader is, and why they're attacking civilians instead of running away. With a hiss, Baru darted forward, his claws slicing through the air. His cautious voice reached out, heavy with concern. Young master, is everything fine? Suho's eyes remained steady, his breath calm despite the weight pressing on his shoulders. He answered without hesitation, his tone unwavering. Yeah, it's all good. Baru lingered in silence, his great eyes reflecting doubt and loyalty. Then, with a voice deeper than the shadows themselves, he spoke again. I understand your desire to save people, but is it fine for you to continue to operate without hiding your identity? The question cut through the air, hanging heavy. Suho's gaze shifted toward the horizon, his expression hardening. Truth be told, he muttered, lowering his eyes toward the fallen prisoner lying among the rubble. I did come here to save people, but once I started to think about it, I got irritated. His words carried the simmering weight of frustration. Now, when everyone is supposed to be preparing to fight against the Apostle of Iterum, problems between Awakeners continue to rise. If things keep going this way, it'll be too overwhelming. The thought of division among those who should be united gnawed at him. He clenched his fists tighter. In this state, all we will end up doing is being a drag on my father. Determination blazed in his eyes, sharp and unyielding. He straightened his back, his voice firm and resolute. So I won't hide any longer. I'll step up to unite everyone. Visions flashed before him, the monarch's descendants moving in the shadows, the hunters preparing their blades, the villains waiting for chaos to spread. The remaining monarch's descendants, hunters, villains. But Suho's vision stretched even further. Items and even magic beasts. I'm going to gather all the power in this world that can stand against the Iterum. His eyes burned with the reflection of his own shadow, the dark glow of purple energy sparking behind him. With my own strength, no matter what. Baru's eyes widened, his voice trembling as he asked, "Are you saying you'll make everything in this world submit to you, young master?" But Suho turned his head slightly, his tone firm and precise. "I'm talking about comrades, you know." The word carried weight, neither dominance nor tyranny, only conviction. "For that to happen, I'm going to have to clean up the villains here first. And to confront the countless others hiding in the city, I'll have to face them with numbers as well." His shadow loomed long across the broken earth, a promise carved into the darkness itself. The air grew heavier. His shadow stretched unnaturally across the broken street as purple light seeped from his hand, surging with quiet menace. The weight of his decision, his resolve, pressed into the world. "I won't hesitate anymore." Dark mana crackled violently, wrapping around his arm like a storm ready to devour everything. His hand lowered slowly, fingers spreading wide. His command left no room for doubt, no pause for mercy. "Arise." The ground trembled, the air shuddered. And then, the silence was split by the screech of tires. The car swerved violently, rubber tearing against asphalt as panic gripped the driver too late. A blazing orb of fire arced through the dusk sky. It struck. The world erupted in flame. The car was swallowed whole, metal shrieking and glass shattering as the explosion consumed it in a storm of heat and destruction. The inferno climbed high, roaring like a beast, before collapsing into a mangled wreck of fire and ash. The prisoner stood still, his eyes cold, his expression unmoved. He exhaled slowly, almost bored. Unfortunate bastards. The evening sky burned with the last traces of sunlight, its glow mixing uneasily with the flicker of fire already licking at the streets. The prisoner stood calmly amidst the chaos, his sharp eyes catching the gleam of headlights cutting recklessly through the smoke. "To think they'd be driving through now, of all times," he muttered, voice low, tinged with irritation rather than surprise. His gaze sharpened as the car swerved between broken debris, engine growling with ignorance of the battlefield it had stumbled into. Behind him, a companion's voice cut through the crackling blaze. "Miho, are you okay?" Her voice is steady and resolute. "This much is nothing. I suppose we can't demand reimbursement for losses against these mongrels, right?" The voice was dry, a cold remark to himself, as if speaking of inevitability. The wreckage behind him gave one last groan before collapsing, sending burning debris into the air. Among the shards, a massive car door ripped free, propelled like a cannon shot. It whistled through the smoke, spiraling with destructive force, a fiery projectile tearing across the sky. The ground trembled as it smashed into the building, exploding in sparks and shattered pavement. The prisoners on the wall flinched, but one man only narrowed his eyes. His voice was low, almost amused. "A car door." Before the words even settled, two shadows stepped forward from the flames. Their footsteps were heavy, unhurried, as if the fire itself parted to let them pass. The blaze illuminated their forms, hunters forged in battle, not mere survivors of the chaos. Baek Yoon-ho's expression hardened as he walked, the golden glow of his aura flaring. "What a mess in the middle of our family trip." And beside him, with hair like a crimson banner dancing in the heat, came Baek Miho. Her eyes were sharp, unyielding, her hands already weaving into a ready stance. The Vice Guild Master of the White Tiger Guild, her presence burned as brightly as her father's. "It's a relief this happened while we were around," she said, her voice steady with conviction, like a soldier reporting for duty. Baek Yoon-ho let out a low chuckle, the feral smirk of a man ready to bare his fangs. "Yeah, if we're late. Your mom's going to give me an earful." Father and daughter, bathed in flame and power, stood side by side, predators awakened, their arrival turning the battlefield into a stage for something greater. The White Tiger Guild had entered the fray. The fire roared in the streets, heat distorting the air as the wreckage burned. From within the blaze, a figure emerged, tall, broad-shouldered, his every step carrying the weight of authority. Flames coiled around his body like a living mantle, reflecting in his sharp eyes. Baek Yoon-ho's voice cut through the crackling inferno, steady and resolute. "Let's get this over with quickly." The aura of a predator leaked from him as his hand transformed, nails elongating into deadly claws that shimmered with golden light. His presence was overwhelming, announcing not just strength, but dominance. Baek Yoon-ho, Guild Master of the White Tiger Guild, an S-rank awakener. The battlefield lay in ruins, littered with unconscious bodies. Hunter Beck's voice broke the silence, calm yet edged with disbelief. How many inmates did they say there were again? Miho responded, her tone steady amidst the chaos. I believe it was approximately 500. The White Tiger Guild members stood among the carnage, their presence imposing. Baek Yunho's voice rumbled as he looked around at the devastation. We might get scolded by your mom for being late to the family event. Baek Miho's voice was steady as she relayed the urgent news, her eyes sharp despite the chaos around her. The Hunters Association chairman himself is coming in for support, and he's bringing 3 S-rank hunters with him. They'll get here in about 10 minutes. Her words hung heavy in the air, the promise of overwhelming reinforcements enough to shake anyone listening. Opposite her, Hunter Beck, with burning golden eyes, listened intently, his gaze unflinching. There was a report, he muttered, his deep voice rolling like distant thunder. That Sung Suho, who's been wanted for suspicions of star power distribution, might be here. A shadow flickered across his face, his brows furrowing as if trying to recall a long-buried memory. Sung Suho, he repeated under his breath, his tone thick with a strange recognition. I feel like I've heard that name somewhere before. The firelight glinted against his sharpened features, as if foreshadowing that the name he spoke would soon ignite something far greater. But even in jest, duty came first. His expression hardened. Well, the safety of the people comes first. Let's begin the rescue, Miho. The golden glow of the sun reflected off Baek Yunho's silver hair as he leapt into action. This reminds me of when you were a firefighter, she muttered, the old days resurfacing for a moment. Yet before they could move further, something sinister stirred. Yunho's eyes sharpened, glowing with feral intensity. Suspicion grew heavy in his voice. Miho, was there any news of a dungeon break nearby? Her answer came quickly. I don't think there was anything like that. And then Yunho's gaze locked onto a figure. A silhouette, dark and monstrous, radiating killing intent. Then what's that inhuman creature over there? The shadow stepped forward, black energy curling around its form. Its presence alone brought dread. Somewhere nearby, a girl, bloodied, trembling, tears streaming, washed with wide, terrified eyes. Hurry and run, gasped a wounded hunter, coughing blood, barely standing. His body shook as he shielded her, refusing to collapse. Mina, he whispered her name, the last bit of strength holding him upright. He fell forward, pierced and bleeding, his body still acting as a barrier. His voice was nothing but a hoarse whisper. Holding out this long, just to protect one girl. The villains sneered, their twisted grins full of mockery. Were you guys dating? Must be nice, huh? Getting to date someone in your party. The girl's sobs grew louder, her heart shattering. Young Hyun Appa? But the bloodied man growled through clenched teeth, refusing to show weakness. Quit sniveling. The villain's blade sliced through the air, aimed mercilessly at the trembling girl. His words dripped with cruelty. You'll be meeting him soon, anyway. But before the strike could land, shadows surged. Darkness erupted from the ground, swallowing light whole. A single command broke through the chaos. Arise. The fallen body of young Hyun, who had given his life to protect her, twitched. And then, engulfed in black flame, he stood once more. His form twisted into that of a shadow warrior, glowing eyes blazing with violet fire. The girl's eyes widened, tears streaming down her face. Young Hyun, Appa. The enemies reeled back in shock. What the hell? The dead guy just popped back up? From the shadows, Suho's calm voice resonated, guiding the reborn warrior. Seeing how you responded to the summon, it must mean you wanted to protect that woman as well. Extending his hand, purple aura spiraling, Suho's words thundered with authority. I'll give you the power. So protect what's dear to you, even in your final moments. The shadows responded. Armor formed across the resurrected warrior's body, glistening with otherworldly energy. Shadow item, Naga Warrior Belt. Creation grade, rare. Type, armor, waist. Defense +2. Agility +4. Shadow item, Naga Warrior Shoulder Guards. Creation grade, rare. Type, armor, upper body. Defense +28. Health +5. Shadow item, Naga Warrior Sword. Creation grade, rare. Type, sword. Attack +55. Agility +5. Effect skill, piercing enhancement. Ignores 10% defense upon attack. Fully equipped in shadow-forged gear, the warrior gripped his sword, his body surging with newfound strength. In a flash, he lunged forward, blade wreathed in violet flames. The strike pierced straight through the enemy, ripping apart the silence with a deafening roar. Blood sprayed across the battlefield as the villain screamed in agony. The resurrected young Hyun had returned, not as a man, but as a weapon of shadows. A violent clash erupted nearby as shadow soldiers engaged another wave of villains, their blades cutting through the chaos. Suho didn't hesitate. His hand stretched outward, the commanding authority of the Shadow Monarch flowing through him once more. Arise! From the corpses sprawled across the ground, dark mist swirled and shadows began to writhe. The fallen villains trembled as their lifeless bodies obeyed his call, rising again, their eyes glowing with that unmistakable violet flame. Suho's voice echoed like a vow to the night. You are to search for other villains from here on out. The shadows bowed in unison, their forms spreading into the darkness like hunters unleashed. Baru hovered close, his crimson gaze unwavering. Just as you'd planned, the shadow soldiers are starting to increase in numbers. A faint smirk tugged at Suho's lips. At this rate, we'll soon be able to sweep up all the villains in the city. Baru's voice resounded with unrestrained pride. Behold, this is the greatness of the authority of shadow that my liege possesses. Suho glanced at his loyal shadow, shaking his head slightly. You're right. I thought it was useless before, but it's pretty amazing. Baru straightened with satisfaction, his voice brimming with devotion. Oh, you're finally acknowledging it, young monarch. Suho's eyes softened briefly as he looked upon the swirling shadow at his feet. It's an incredible power. Baru's voice carried a hint of concern as he looked at the lone shadow warrior still lingering nearby. Are you going to leave that shadow behind? Suho's gaze softened, his answer calm but resolute. Yeah, since he's going to disappear in a day, I want to let them have a proper farewell. The shadow warrior stood silently beside the trembling girl it once swore to protect. Its form flickered faintly, the violet aura of death and loyalty burning like fading embers. Baru tilted his head, watching his young master with curious eyes. You seem like a completely different person compared to when you were facing the villains. Suho blinked, almost surprised by the observation. A faint, dry laugh escaped his lips. Really? Was I that different? But as his eyes fell back on the shadow soldier, its trembling frame and the raw emotion etched into its fading existence, something within him stirred. His pupils widened, reflecting the violet flames curling off the soldier's body. For a brief moment, Suho could see it, sacrifice, grief, and an unyielding will to protect. Emotions so human, yet carried now by a being of shadow. And in that instant, he understood. The streets were littered with the aftermath of battle, but Suho's gaze remained sharp, scanning the horizon. Suho narrowed his eyes, his fists clenching at his sides. A large number of shadow soldiers were defeated just now. Beside him, Baru's calm voice carried a note of concern. I hope you find him this time, the ringleader behind this commotion. The figure tore through the shadow soldiers in one single strike. The man grits his teeth, his eyes burning like flames, his aura radiating like thunder. What's with all these black magic beasts? Huang Dongsuk snaps, unease breaking his bravado. I've never heard of monsters like these before. From behind, Kong Taeshik underlings scoffed nervously, voice strained. Oi, problem solver. Get going and clear them up already, will ya? Taeshik's voice dripped with arrogance as he stood amidst the shadows. This wouldn't have happened if we'd left quickly. But his lips curved into a confident smirk, his aura flaring as the dark energy from the star fragment coursed through him. Quit fussing about it. After consuming a star fragment, I'm stronger than an A rank. I wouldn't possibly lose to these D and C rank magic beasts. His eyes glimmered with certainty, his body radiating overwhelming power. To him, these shadowy creatures were nothing more than gnats. Yet, as the tide of shadow soldiers surged around him, their movements shifted. The air trembled. One by one, the beasts lowered themselves to the ground. Their heads bowed, not in defeat, but in reverence. The man stiffened, his confidence faltering. They're suddenly starting to kneel? A chill crawled up his spine, for the realization struck him. This wasn't submission to him. It was submission to someone else. The shadows advance, their hollow eyes glowing, while Suho stands behind them all, his presence suffocating. Baru's sharp chitter fills the air as he hovers at Suho's side. Young monarch, it seems you've hit the jackpot. Suho narrows his eyes, watching the man squirm. So, you must be the head of the escaped inmates. He speaks the name like a verdict. Hwang Dong-suk. Dong-suk sneers, trying to mask the dread creeping into his chest. What's a brat like you doing, being all disrespectful? Suho's eyes don't waver. He takes a step forward, his shadows tightening like a noose. You must be the one who summoned all this chaos. I have a question for you. Do you know about the apostle like Lee Min-sung did? The tension thickens. Dong-suk tries to play it cool, raising his hands slightly as though in peace. Whoa, calm down a bit. If you want to talk, keep your distance. His smirk returns, sly and taunting. If you're talking about the apostle of the Iterum, I know them well. His eyes gleam with mockery as he leans forward. It's that, you know? Summoner-type hunters typically have low body grades. They're defenseless when separated from their summonings. He chuckles darkly. Aren't they like a cult? And then, with sudden force, Kong Taeshik lunges forward. But before the strike connects, Suho's body moves, quick as lightning, barely dodging the attack. The clash of their power ringing across the plaza as dusk paints the battlefield in fiery hues. Kong Taeshik eyes wide in disbelief, sweat rolling down his cheek. Hwang Dong-suk's face twists in surprise, a bead of sweat rolling down his cheek as Suho's cold gaze pierces through him. Suho's voice cuts like a blade. I see. So you're completely unrelated to the Iterum. The villain's composure cracks, his lips tightening, but Suho steps closer, seizing his collar with unyielding force. His tone sharpens, low and deadly. Then tell me, how did you obtain the star fragments? Suho's eyes glowed with a cold, merciless light as he stood before Hwang Dong-suk, the air crackling with the weight of his presence. His voice cut through the silence like a blade. Why did you attack the city? Hwang Dong-suk's heart pounded as fear gripped him. He had faced countless hunters, but this boy's aura was suffocating, monstrous. This kid, he's not an ordinary summoner type. He tried to muster defiance, but his voice trembled. If you lay even a finger on me, my younger brother won't let you. Before he could finish, Suho's hands surged like fangs of darkness, piercing through his shoulder. The ground cracked beneath their clash, shock waves rattling the air. Suho leaned closer, his tone unyielding. I don't care whether your younger brother is an S rank or not. Answer my question. Blood gushed from Dong-suk's wounds as he screamed in agony. My brother got me them. The star fragments. I don't know anything else. His face twisted in desperation, his arrogance stripped away. Suho's shadow loomed darker, merciless. So you killed all those people, just for that? Dong-suk coughed blood, eyes wide with terror. I had no particular reason to attack the city. I just found it entertaining to see those guys follow my commands. In the distance, Kong Taeshik cursed under his breath, realizing the truth. He's dangerous. I have to run away, even if it means abandoning Hwang Dong-suk. But then a familiar gaze snapped toward Kong Taeshik, golden eyes glowing with an inhuman brilliance. The air turned golden, and from behind him, colossal spectral eyes opened, glaring down like a divine judgment. Twin daggers gleaming in his grip, humming with raw power. Kong Taeshik froze, sweat dripping down his face. What's this? The apostle stepped forward, his voice ringing with lethal finality. Before the S ranks arrive, I want to observe your skills and show you mine. The sun dipped low over the city, painting the battlefield in a deep golden hue as the chaos momentarily stilled. The apostle's form trembled, his body consumed by a radiance not his own, his eyes glowing with a feral hunger as the power surged violently through him. His lips curled into a snarl, muttering words like an oath to himself. Be faithful to your impulses. His voice cracked like thunder. Kong Taeshik, the name itself carried a weight of condemnation, echoing through the street as Kong Taeshik erupted forward, golden light bursting out with destructive force. The ground fractured beneath his steps as his body blurred, his skill activating. Skill, camouflage. In an instant, he vanished into streaks of light, reappearing at inhuman speed, his assault raining down with a flurry of slashes and blows that carved the air itself. Sparks scattered as blades of power clashed, each strike shaking the earth. But Suho's body moves, quick as lightning, barely dodging the attack, the clash of their power ringing across the battlefield. But the strikes landed on Huang Dongsuk. Huang Dongsuk faltered, their breaths catching at the sight. Huh, gasped Huang Dongsuk, blood dribbling down his chin, eyes wide in disbelief. The battle had escalated beyond their comprehension. The horizon burned crimson as Suho's silhouette stood tall amidst the chaos. From the shadows beside him, Baru's voice rang with urgency, trembling with recognition. Young monarch, I just felt it, the energy of the apostle of the Iterum. Suho's voice echoed. They're controlling the body of someone who took a star fragment again. The realization settled like a stone in the pit of his chest. Suho straightened, his fist tightening, his expression unwavering. Fine, he muttered, the word low but filled with lethal resolve. His gaze locked on Kong Taeshik as the air trembled with power. I had something to say to you anyway. And with that, the battlefield once again braced for a clash that would shake its very foundation. Chapter end here. For more, like, share, and subscribe.